let's talk about the cardinal numbers. And as you know, there are two sets of cardinal numbers in Cebuano. We have the indigenous set of counting numbers, and we have the Hispanic set of numbers, right? And the indigenous set, you would mostly use it for counting and measuring. So counting meaning like 1, 2, 3, 4, and it can be counting objects, counting people, counting things, counting nouns, counting living things, non-living things, inanimate objects, stuff like that, nouns, right? Just counting. And it can also be measuring, so like measuring as in units, measuring in units, and stuff like that. Whereas the Hispanic set has a set of like general rules where of like what you can use, what you can't use it for. And generally, we use the Hispanic set for telling time, monetary purposes and transactions, currency, which is also under monetary transactions and purposes, counting and counting from quantities that are greater than 10. We use it for calendars and dates, and we use it for measuring, again, for things that are quantities that are greater than 10, and pretty much concepts that have been brought to the archipelago, brought to the Cebuano speaking lands from from the Spaniards, right? So the Spaniards introduced calendars and dates and time as a concept, not time as in the position of the sun, but rather as in hours and in some rigid structure. So those kind of concepts were introduced, and hence we use the Hispanic set. So how do we know what when to use what and how? Generally speaking, if you're gonna start with the indigenous set and you're gonna be counting, using usa, duha, tulo, etc., and you go beyond 10 or 10 people or 10 whatever when you're counting, you revert to the Hispanic set. So you go from 10, which is Napulo, then you go to 11, 12, 13. So it's just that way generally. However, you can also use the indigenous set from after Napulo. You can go to Napulo Ugusa, which means 10 and 1. Napulo Ug Usa, 10 and 1. And that means 11 instead of saying 11. This is the thing though, most people do not use the indigenous set anymore. I mean, you're not wrong when you're gonna use the indigenous set of counting beyond 10, but you will get the looks because nobody really uses it. And a lot more people feel more comfortable using the Hispanic set of numbers after 10 because it's more shorter, I should say, shorter than saying napulo og lima, instead of just saying 15 for 15. Napulo og lima for 15, but people just say 15, that. And sometimes the Hispanic set has a set of rules that you can memorize, and it's easier to pronounce versus the indigenous set where you have to memorize like 20 being kahuaan or something like that, and kahuaan lima, kahuaan ug, that kind of stuff. So it just adds on. With Cebuano being an agglutinative language. So, I mean, I'm not going to hold it against you if you use the indigenous set beyond 10, but you will get the stares. Though I do encourage it. I mean, it's good practice. You will amaze people if you use the indigenous set beyond 10. That will amaze people. But it's just going to be a little awkward. However, I do condone you using the English words, so do not use English and mix the language. And down here I wrote a simple paragraph of when to use the numbers and how to switch about coming about. So just listen up to how I'll pronounce or how I'll read this little paragraph and you'll understand, okay? Alas 6 sayo sa buntag, maglakaw ko 3 kilometro sa kolehiyo. Imbes ni ini, usahay mo bayad ko sa jeep. Tag 8 pesos lang. 5 kami kaklase gikan sa jeep. Apan, 28 tanan sa klase. Right? So, alas 6 sayo sa buntag, At 6 o'clock early in the morning, maglakaw ko 3 kilometro sa kolehiyo. I take a walk, or I will take a walk for 3 kilometers to college. Imbes ni ini, usahay mo bayad ko sa jeep. Instead of this, sometimes I will pay for a jeep, right? Tag 8 pesos lang for only 8 pesos. For only 8 pesos. 5 kami kaklase gikan sa jeep, right? There are 5 of us in the same class, or 5 of us in the same who are classmates coming from the jeep. Apan, 28 tanan sa klase, but 28 total in the class, right? So hopefully this can help you kind of clarify and understand when and how to use and switch back and forth from the indigenous set to the Hispanic set. You can switch back and forth, and hopefully this kind of helped.